November 16, 2014, from Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri. It was the Seattle Seahawks at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs won the toss and they elected to defer, so Seattle would get the ball first and they would go 3-and-out on their first possession. And now the Chiefs would take over on their own 14 with about 13.5 minutes left in the first. They were then faced with a 3rd-and-1 from the 23, and Jamaal Charles ran for 2 yards to pick up the first down. Then on 2nd-and-2 from the 33, Charles picked up 7 yards for another first down. Then they were faced with 2nd-and-4 from the 46, and Alex Smith hit Charles, and he took it 13 yards for a 13-yard reception in the first down that crossed midfield and brought the ball to the Seattle 41. Then on 2nd-and-2, Knile Davis picked up a first down with a 3-yard run. And then Charles ran for 14 yards to pick up another first down and bring the ball to the red zone at the Seattle 16. Smith then hit Kelsey for a 9-yard pass, and it was now 2nd-and-1 on the 7-yard line. Now Davis then ran for a couple yards, and on 1st-and-goal from the 5, Jamaal Charles ran for 4 yards to make it 2nd-and-goal from the 1, and an incomplete pass would bring up 3rd-and-goal from the 1, and Jamaal Charles ran it in for the touchdown, and it was now 7-0 Chiefs over the Seahawks. And so now the Seahawks would take over on their own 10-yard line with about 4.5 minutes left in the first. Marshawn Lynch would pick up a first down with a 10-yard run, and then he ran for 8 yards and then another 13 yards, and now it's first down on the 41 of Seattle. Lynch continued to pick up yardage as he ran for 4 yards. That made it 2nd-and-6. And then they brought in Turbin to run for 4 yards and another 4 yards. And now it was a first down in Kansas City territory on the 47. And Turbin ran for another 2 yards and then 1 yard. And the first quarter came to a close with the score Kansas City 7, Seattle 0. So now to start things off in the second quarter was 3rd-and-7 on the Kansas City 44 for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson then threw a 10-yard pass to Wilson, and that brought up a first down on the 34 of the Chiefs. Then a couple plays later, they were faced with 3rd-and-12 from the 36, and Russell Wilson was sacked by Justin Houston for a 10-yard loss, and he fumbled the ball, but it was picked up by Britt. There was a penalty, though, of illegal use of the hands, and so it ended up being a first down for the Seahawks on the 31. Then on 2nd-and-8 from the 29, Russell Wilson hit Kurtz for a 24-yard pass, and it was now 1st-and-goal on the 5. They would end up losing 3 yards on first down with a little pass from Wilson to Baldwin, and then they picked up a yard with a run by Wilson, and now it was 3rd-and-goal on the 7. Russell Wilson dropped back to pass, and he found Doug Baldwin for a 7-yard touchdown pass, and this game was now tied at 7 apiece. So now the Chiefs would take over with about 10.5 minutes left in the second quarter. They had the ball on their own 20. Alex Smith then hit Kelsey for a 23-yard pass, and that made it a first down on the Kansas City 43. Jamaal Charles then ran for 28 yards, and that brought the ball across midfield into the Seattle 29 for the first down. Smith then hit Sherman for a 13-yard pass. Now it was a first down in the red zone on the Seattle 16. Jamaal Charles then ripped a 16-yard touchdown run that made it 14-7 Kansas City over Seattle. So now the Seahawks would take over with about 8 minutes left in the second quarter. They would have the ball on their own 19. They'd be faced with a 2nd-and-10. Russell Wilson would then find Kurtz for an 18-yard pass to bring the ball to the 37. Then on 2nd-and-10 from the 37, Marshawn Lynch ran for 11 yards to pick up a first down and bring it to the 48. Then on 2nd-and-5 from the 47, Marshawn Lynch ran for 8 yards to make it a first down on the 39. He then ran for 15 yards to make it a first down on the 24. Then on 2nd-and-12 from the 26, Russell Wilson picked up 14 yards on the ground, and it was now a first down on the 12-yard line of Kansas City. Beast Mode then lost 3 yards, but then he picked up a yard, and now it was 3rd-and-12 from the 14, and Russell Wilson hit Richardson for a 9-yard pass. And so now with it 4th-and-3 on the 5, they would bring out Stephen Hauschka to attempt a 24-yard field goal. It was up, it was good, and it was now 14-10 Kansas City over Seattle as the Seahawks cut the Chiefs' lead to 4 points. So now the Chiefs would take over with about a minute and a half left before halftime. They had the ball on their own 36, and on first down, Alex Smith was sacked for an 8-yard loss by Irvin. There was a fumble, but the Chiefs recovered. Then a pair of incomplete passes would make it 3rd-and-5 from the 41. Smith hit Kelsey for a 5-yard pass, There was actually a fumble, and so now the Seahawks would take over on the Kansas City 47 as Hill recovered the fumble after Earl Thomas forced the fumble. And so now with about a minute left before halftime, the Seahawks had the ball in the Kansas City 47. Then on 2nd and 10 from the 35, Russell Wilson hit Doug Baldwin for a 12-yard pass that made it a first down on the 23 with about 30 seconds left. Russell Wilson then ran for 14 yards, and the Seahawks took a timeout. It was now 1st and goal on the 9, and they wouldn't get any further. And after the Chiefs tried to ice, well, it was before they took their last timeout, and then it was an incomplete pass, and then Hauschka came out, and he kicked a 27-yard field goal. That made it a 1-point game with the score 14-13, Chiefs over the Seahawks as this game went to halftime. So now to start things off in the third quarter, the Chiefs would have the ball first. They would start off on their own 28. They would march down the field and into Seattle territory. They were actually faced with a 2nd and 3 from the Seattle 33, and Jamaal Charles ran for 8 yards on the play to pick up first down on the 25. They then got into the red zone, but they would end up stalling on the 5-yard line. It was actually 3rd and 1 from the 3, and Knile Davis lost a couple yards, and now Santos would come out to attempt a 23-yarder. It was up, it was good, and the Chiefs extended their lead to 4 points with the score now Chiefs 17, Seahawks 13. So now the Seahawks would take over with about 7.5 minutes left in the third. They had the ball on their own 19-yard line, but they would end up punting the ball after 6 plays. So now the Chiefs would take over on their own 44 with about 3 minutes left in the third. And Jamaal Charles would end up fumbling as Earl Thomas blew him up, forced the fumble, and Maxwell recovered. And so now the Seahawks would get the ball with about 3 minutes left in the third. They had it on the Kansas City 44. Beast mode Marshawn Lynch ran for 5 yards to bring it to the 39, and then Russell Wilson hit Wilson for a 27-yard pass that made it a first down on the 12. Marshawn Lynch then ran for 8 yards to bring it to the 4. And then a 3-yard run by Lynch made it a 1st and goal on the 1. And Russell Wilson hit Moeaki for a 1-yard touchdown pass. And it was now 20-17 as the Seahawks took the lead by 3 over the Chiefs. So now the Chiefs had the ball, and they ended up running for 1 yard on 1st and 10 from the 29, and the third quarter came to a close. So after 3 quarters of play, it was Seattle 20, Kansas City 17. So to open up the fourth quarter, the Chiefs would have the ball on their own 30, 2nd and 9. Alex Smith went for Bo, but it was pass interference. It was a holding penalty on the defense. Now it's first down on the 35 for the Chiefs. They then went Smith to Bo, and it was a 9-yard reception to bring up 2nd and 1, and Charles picked up 47 yards, and there was an unnecessary roughness penalty as well, and so now it was 1st and goal on the 4 for the Chiefs. Knile Davis then ran it in for the touchdown, and it was now 24-20 as the Chiefs took back the lead now by 4 points. So now Seattle would take over with less than 14 minutes left in the game. They had it on their own 23, and they would move the ball towards midfield and get into Kansas City territory and into the red zone all the way down towards the goal line. And it ended up being 4th and 2 on the 2-yard line, and they ended up going for a pass, and it was incomplete, and they turned the ball over on downs, and now the Chiefs would take over on their own 2-yard line with about 7 minutes left in this game with a 4-point lead. They would end up punting the ball, though, from their own 2-yard line as they went 3 and out. And so now the Seahawks would take over at the Kansas City 45 with about 6 minutes left in the fourth. They would end up being faced with a 4th and 1 from the Kansas City 36, and they handed it off to Beast Mode, and he was stuffed at the line for no gain as the Chiefs come up with a huge run stop, and they forced the Seahawks to turn the ball over on downs, and now the Chiefs would take over with 3.5 minutes left in the game, and they had the ball on their own 36. They would go 3 and out and punt the ball back to Seattle, and now the Seahawks would take over with a little less than 3 minutes left in the game, but they were backed up against their own end zone on their own 4-yard line as they had to go 96 yards, or at least to get to the end zone to actually win, as a field goal would do them no good as they were down by 4. And they would end up with 3rd and 9 from the 5, and Russell Wilson hit Doug Baldwin for a 23-yard pass, and that would pick up a first down and bring the ball out to the 28 and bring the game to the 2-minute warning. So now they were out of the shadow of their own end zone, but they were ended up with a 2nd and 10 from the 28, and Russell Wilson was sacked by Dontari Poe for an 8-yard loss. It would bring up 3rd and 18, and an incomplete pass would bring up 4th and 18 with just over a minute left in the game, and they had to go for it, and an incomplete pass would turn the ball over on downs, and now the Chiefs would take over, and Alex Smith would take 2 knees, and this game came to a close with the final score, Kansas City 24, Seattle 20. And with the win, the Chiefs are now 7-3, and I believe that makes them tied with the Denver Broncos for first place there in the AFC West. They're 4-1 at home on the season. The Seattle Seahawks are now 6-4. They're 2-3 on the road. In this game, Alex Smith was 11 for 16 with 108 yards passing. He also ran for -1 yard off of 2 carries. Russell Wilson was 20 for 32 with 178 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Jamaal Charles was the leading rusher in this game with 159 yards off of 20 carries and 2 touchdowns. He also had 19 yards off of 2 receptions. Marshawn Lynch had 124 yards off of 24 carries in the game, and he had 1 yard off of 1 reception. The leading receiver was Curse, as Jermaine Curse had 54 yards off of 5 receptions. And on defense, it was a tie for the leading tackler. Earl Thomas had 11 tackles for the Seahawks, and Ron Parker had 11 tackles for the Chiefs. And in this game, the Seahawks did not get any sacks. The Chiefs had 2 sacks, as Tamba Hali and Dontari Poe each had a sack. There were no interceptions in this game, but what a game it was, is it came all the way down to the 4th quarter, and it was a lot of defense in this game, although they put up 44 total points. But the final score is Kansas City 24, Seattle 20.